I'd be lying if I said it wasn't difficult talking about Pokemon, seeing as how most of them are warmongering assholes looking for blood. But the more I thought about it, the more I said to myself, oh, wait, I'm scared of 30-year-old basement-dwelling dweebs with no lives? What do I have to be scared of? So if you don't know, Pokemon Sword and Shield is the latest entry of the Pokemon mainline series. It's the 8th generation of Pokemon, and a lot of people expect big things out of it, seeing as how it's the first mainline Pokemon game to be a console exclusive. And as a Pokemon fan myself, I really was excited to hear that. Yet, as more footage arose from the development team and people who were able to get their hands on the game around the world, it is shaped up to be a very concerning entry. What with many animations being reused, some textures being underwhelming, the Pokemon list surprisingly being dwarfed, and the games themselves remaining largely the same since its very conception. There's a ton to nitpick, and there's a ton to be legitimately concerned about. Yet what doesn't help a developer make better games is portraying a sheer animostic disposition when expressing your concerns, aka being a fucking asshole. Throughout this past year alone, many Pokemon fans have shown the worst side of themselves, being extremely toxic towards the developers of the game, Game Freak, and sending death threats towards anyone speaking positive of the game. One more recent story is of the head of Cerebi, Joe Merrick, receiving death threats after sending the developers of Pokemon a kind letter in Japanese. The letter pretty much says how he acknowledges many of the fans are very disappointed in the game and some are extremely toxic towards the developers, and instead of being toxic towards them, they should be respected, instead of being harshly castigated and unnecessarily insulted. The letter goes on and tells Game Freak to keep their heads up and to remember that other kids around the world are eagerly awaiting the new Pokemon game. Many people took this seemingly innocent letter as, well, many negative ways other than an innocent letter of encouragement. Some people saw this as Joe Merrick basically being egotistical and looking down on all other Pokemon fans and seeing himself as the voice for all Pokemon fans. Others saw this as him sucking on Game Freak's cock to keep his website running, as if he's being paid directly by Game Freak themselves, which is the dumbest thing I've ever fucking heard, but yeah, whatever. A fan website with like 6 people on staff is totally being funded directly by Game Freak and Nintendo. That totally makes sense and is totally not paranoid thinking at all. Some others have felt that Joe Merrick is criticizing those with criticisms, even though again, the letter was made largely to encourage the staff to continue making games and not to have the few bad eggs dissuade them from making more Pokemon games. Because the honest truth is, the vocal minority is often the ones we see and hear the most. The Japanese audience is no different than the American audience, and they're being just as toxic with their criticisms. And I understand many people will misconstrue what I'm saying as me being on the side of Pokemon and me wanting everyone not to criticize the game at all, or me saying that everyone in the Pokemon community is completely toxic. But the truth is, you're stupid for thinking that, and also you have a small PP. If you really think that this is what I'm saying, or like that's what the letter is, it's an attack on you, you're a small-dicked bitch who needs to rethink their priorities. Everyone is allowed to have these criticisms. Everyone is allowed to think this game looks bad, but none of y'all have any goddamn reason or any privilege at all to fucking send death threats to both the developers and Joe Merrick, because you feel like your child's game isn't being made for you, the 30-year-old virgin who still feels like the world owes him something. Your criticisms can be heard, but they will be dismissed once they become threats and words of hatred. And you can disagree with me, right? You can totally interpret Joe's words as something more than what he wrote. Who knows? Maybe he actually is trying to squander the voices of those criticizing the game, even though he already states that he's not trying to do this. Or maybe he is trying to suck on Game Freak's cock and he's just not another fan who like wants to send them words of encouragement. You can think whatever you want, but whatever. It doesn't matter what I say to some of you, honestly. You're all just paranoid junkies who absorb drama like a black hole. But what I'm trying to say is, if you have a sensible mind, if you're gonna hate what he says, you can even hate Joe for being like this, but again, there is zero, and I mean absolute zero reason for you neckbeards to be sending death threats. Oh Goose, you're being too harsh, you're insulting the fan base. Yeah, well, some of you motherfuckers are too dense to hear logic in the first place. Might as well talk in a way y'all understand, which is an insult. Also, I don't think I need to say this, but I'm not talking about every single Pokemon fan. Clearly, I'm talking about the ones who would stoop so low as to vilify anyone and everyone talking positive about the game or the staff. That is so abhorrent and absolutely unwarranted from this game. That's not even made for the audience that's complaining in the first place. Actually, it's a kid's game, and yeah, I know that doesn't excuse it for being shit. Of course not. I'm not saying that, but the fact that you're going to get worked up over this and send death threats, and for a game that's not even made for you to satisfy the needs that you want from a game that's totally unrealistic of your perception, that's just stupid, really. Hell, the reviews for Pokemon Sword and Shield are out now, and many of them are positive, yet somehow people are still so delusioned that they can't even conceive the idea that maybe, just maybe, someone out there liked the fucking game. Nah, it's bad. Can't you see by this screenshot that it's bad? Can't you feel it? Can't you just feel it in your bones that this game is bad? Can't you just taste it in the air? The shitty taste in your mouth? How could anybody like this game at all? This game can't be any good. Nobody has played this game yet. However, people are already having this predisposition that the game sucks, and no review can ever change their mind. Kinda sounds familiar, doesn't it? Oh wow, it's like this proves my point that reviews are fucking useless. But nah, everyone who gave this game a high rating must have been bought out by Nintendo, right? Because there's no way anyone can enjoy a game and have a different opinion, right? Whatever. Listen, to those of you who are just positive outliers of the fan base, then good for you. Honestly, I know I seemed a bit harsh in this video, more so than any other video I've ever made. But honestly, it's because I hate bullies. If you're one of the few who anticipate this game and want to have fun with it, and not have other people sway you to think other ways, then good on you. And if you're one of the few people who have been giving healthy criticism of the game, in fact, I'm not even going to say the few of you. I'm sure there's a large majority of you who have criticisms that are being positive about the game, then that's fine too. I know some of you are making maybe fun little jabs towards the developers through memes for the shortcomings that this game has, which is plenty, and that's also a positive outlook too. Honestly, as long as you're not giving them death threats or being totally dismissive of other people's opinions or just totally squandering or squashing other people's outlooks on this game, you know, that's totally fine as well. Honestly, I know some people will see this video and they'll see the title and they'll immediately dislike it, argue in the comments, and never actually watch the video. And that's fine. I don't care. I care more about what logical people have to say instead of the disillusioned, rabid fanboys. There's even an instance on Twitter where someone used Iwata as an example of like disappointment, where if he were alive today, he would be so disappointed. Like, if you really have to use a dead person to prove your point, then you are honestly lower than low. You are a piece of fucking garbage. Seriously. The toxicity is so visceral and it is so putrid. I can't honestly believe that I share the same space as those people in this fan base, because I love this game. And maybe the game will suck, sure, but doing that kind of shit, that is distasteful, honestly. Also, just because I feel the need to say this because I know people will mince my words to fit their narrative, no, I'm not saying you can't criticize this game. Hell, there's a lot to criticize. The lack of good animations in the game, the lack of Pokemon showing up in this game. I mean, hell, my favorite Pokemon, Sandshrew, ain't showing up. And legit though, I really wanted to see what an HD Sandshrew looked like, but no, I don't even think Alolan Sandshrew will be there, so I ain't even getting that. And while I have chosen the reviewers that has said that they enjoy the game, I won't ignore the fact that some of them have straight up said in the same review, the favorable review, mind you, that they believe this is one of the more soulless Pokemon games and it is devoid of any emotion and any love and care of previous games from the past 30 years. Seriously. There are many problems with it, but just because it has those problems doesn't necessarily mean that it can't be liked. And Also, there's no other reason you can't criticize the devs either, because there have been confirmations that show that Game Freak lied about several things they said they would change and many things they said they would improve. It shows that there's more than just laziness within the development of this game. There was also deception, and they should be held accountable for that kind of stuff, but not through death threats, through your wallets. And I've said this multiple times now, but if you want your voice to be heard by a large corporate company, let your money talk. Don't buy it if you really don't want to support these poor practices, which I've already said are plenty. But also, if someone else buys the game and enjoys it, then let them enjoy that game. They're not you. They're not gonna think the same as you. And Pokemon, to be honest, has not drastically changed in the past 30 years, which is the source of many people's outrage, but also the source of why many people find the game enjoyable. The gameplay remains to be solid and worth playing for many people, and as long as they don't fuck up too hard, that is Game Freak, you can expect a lot of people to actually enjoy the game for what it is, a Pokemon game, and there's no reason there should be discourse amongst the people who like the game and the people who hate the game. Don't shit on them for having a bad or wrong opinion, because anybody can enjoy whatever they like so long as it doesn't harm anyone. At the end of the day, this is just a video game. It ain't killing anybody, and neither should you, honestly. Thank you so much for watching. I love y'all so much. Goodbye.